hopefully that will sort itself out. There we are. Let's see if we can get rid of that brown line. Oh, that made matters worse. Don't need to see my belly. Good. Good afternoon, ladies. There we are. Let's see. Hope I haven't moved it too far the wrong way again. There we are. That will work. That will work. We'll just move you into there, and that will suffice. Cool. Let's just shovel that so that's not all to pot, and then we can concentrate. Well, I've had to open the conservatory windows, doors, ladies. It is absolutely like a sauna in here today. Absolutely like a sauna. Back to normal service. At least we've not got too much glare. I need that from a paint. So, hello, Joan. Hi, Liz. Oops, let's turn that so we don't have an echo. Good evening, Dory. Hello, Faith. I think I've now said hello to everyone, and I think Anthony might have joined in. So that welcome. So we've got all sorts of bits and pieces here. We may do this as a two-parter. We may do it as a one-parter. We'll see where we get to. Good afternoon, Jan. Hello, Sheila. Please feel free to share wherever. So let me just empty that lot all out of there. So there are several places where you can buy these wooden house shelves, I think is what they're actually called, and they come typically as a set of 3. Now I used one a while ago for a Pentart Christmas live. Get rid of the spider that's decided to dangle in front of me, and I have 2 more left. So I thought we'd do something a bit different today, and we're going to use this, and we're going to create a little book nook because it'll sit nicely on a shelf, and we're going to do some different things with it, so if that makes sense. And we are unfortunately now going to have to do some priming because I haven't primed, and that's just fine. But because of what I want him to do, we're going to layer things up. So just let me give that a little, because it's quite thick and it's quite warm in here. Let's just give that all a little wiggle and get that water mixed in to my primer paste. So the joy of the Pentart primers is, well, most of their products is that they are water-based products, and therefore when they go too thick you can just add in a goodly measure of, that'll be good old-fashioned tap water. If you're going to keep them open for a long time, then I would suggest that you use cooled boiled water so you don't inadvertently add in any bugs, but globally it will work. Hello Miriam, welcome my darling. What hour is it out in the States for you now? So let's just add some paint. We're going to do all of the sides of this, so it might take us a little bit to do that, but that's okay. That's about real life crafting and being aware of what's going on. Hello Sarah, welcome my darling, thank you. So I noticed that Dawn Bibby, or the Crafting with Dawn Bibby, has put a comment up that's asking people not to share their lives unless they're using Pentart or Stamperia. So this uses both Pentart and Stamperia, so should be safe for you to share without anyone being upset with you. Sarah, if that's what you'd like to do. Let me just get rid of that blob. I think that, yes, that's an art stone from before. Hello Dee. Dee, welcome. So we're going, I have 2 thoughts about filling the inside of this, so I'll have your opinions and then we can go from there. The first is that I could fill my diorama, my shadow box, shelf sitter, book nook, call it what you want, with a little diorama. And the second is that I could fill it with a little album. And if we're going to go for the album, then that definitely will be a make for next weekend rather than this weekend, because by the time we've got the rest of it. Lorraine, I completely understand, my darling. You have to do what's right for you, and the focus should absolutely be on Dawn's products. I have no qualms, and the reason I wasn't questioning why you were doing it. I was just wanting to make sure that Sarah was, because she often shares my stuff for me, bless her. It's much appreciated. That knew that it would fit the new criteria. I think that it's good to to be able to keep the page to things that it's primarily intended for. I think it's very easy, if you're not careful, to have stuff that gets overwhelmed with other products and other makes, and then you're right, you can't find what you want. So that from that point of view, I totally get it. So we are going to have some drying, but thankfully the water-based products in the heat of my conservatory, even with the doors open, will dry relatively quickly, because that's what happens. I've got a nice layer of primer on those, and then I can decorate through the front. Hello, Anna. So let me just see what else anyone else has been saying that I might have. Good evening, morning, Lynn. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Deborah. Welcome. So if I miss any comments, it's not that I wish to be difficult or rude. It's purely that when my head's down crafting, I don't necessarily see everyone coming in. Hello Jenny, welcome darling, thank you. It's just you can't necessarily do everything, can you? Now the lovely Liz Wheeler is live again today at 5 on her Journal It template group, so if you're not a member of that, please feel free to invite yourself to join. Just make sure that you answer the membership questions. They're not difficult, but if you don't, we won't add you. Simple as. We're there to make sure we don't have people joining that are there to do unhelpful things. Thanks, Liz. I love you too. I love you too. So Deirdre's is definitely getting some of the templates there. Okay, thank you very much. So join Liz Wheeler's design. Go to Liz Wheeler Designs page today. Cool, that's lovely. Hello Sylvia, welcome my darling. Welcome. There we are. So there is no other way of doing this. Well, there is. I could have done the priming first, but then I often do. But sometimes I think it's good to do the layers. And I'm really needing the primer on this for a whole host of reasons. But because we're going to be using some antiquing paints today on the outside of this. So although this is a house shape, and I ummed and ahed about putting doors and windows on it, I actually have decided not to do that because I want it to sit flat against a wall stroke the back of the bookcase. But I'm going to decorate with capers and just keep some moulds and things to the edges, to the sides, rather than all the way round. Thank you, my darling Trina, that's much appreciated. So why is it that when you want something to dry quickly, it's going to take forever? Because that's what happens, isn't it? There we are. As I want to add, I'm going to be layering several sets of paints on these to use that. Oh, thank you, Jenny. the lives are always there under events. If you're ever stuck, if you go to my page, look under events, and then you get a tag that says events, past, and then past again, just to make it really easy. And the first pass is ones I've watched in the past, and you might find that interesting, you might not. But the second pass, so the one that's nearest to the right on a computer, is my past lives and events. So that's quite a helpful thing to be able to find and to work your way around. I just need to add, I don't mind the inside of this not being brown because I'm actually going to use papers for the inside of this box, but I do want to prime the edges because those are not going to be painted, papered, because life's too short really to paint paper little bits like that. You could cut little strips, but hey ho. Right, what did I do with the lid for my gesso? Cool. So let me pop that up there. We can give that a little bit more of a blast. In fact, we can start painting this while that other side is drying. So I have a range of products here called antiquing paints. They're probably quite difficult to find in the UK. I do apologise, but I think That's Crafty may just have them in. I think she did buy them in a while ago, so worth looking. So these are paints that are designed to layer and not back and things. So, and they come in a whole range of pretty grungy colours really. She says getting out a beautiful soft blue. So we're going to be adding these in layers. I'm going to add something else to the roof, so that's okay. So we'll just, we might not do the bottom of this live. We might be here, so we'll pop that over there. We can hang this up in the air whilst we paint it. So as I say, they're antiquing paints. They're designed for layering and knocking back, and I've got an order coming in from Europe from a new company that I found who are happy to ship to the UK, providing thus far everything seems to be going to plan with it. So if that works, I will have an alternative source for people to get the products in from, which will be rather good, I think. There we are. So we'll just add this, and we're going to say we're going to layer, because that's the whole joy of this range of paints. Well, we might as well do that whilst the going's good. There we are. I do like a project that's completed, and one of the risks I think for people doing lives is that they don't necessarily finish. Wooden items tend to fluff when you add paint to them, and that's also fine. So let's pop that over there. Hi Robin, welcome my darling, thank you. Hello Laurie, welcome. It's lovely to see everyone arriving in. Hello Helen, thank you for joining me. It's good. I think my regular lives are beginning to come in. Liz, if you want to put the link for That's Crafty in, please feel free. I don't have a problem with that. It's not, this isn't being done for any particular company, so I'm not averse to helping people find products that I'm using, because I think it's quite important that if I'm using products, that they're ones that people can get hold of. The ladies arriving from the States will know that they can get their stuff from TH Decor, quite happy in TH Decor retailers in the US, so that's okay. Brilliant. So they've got that. Looks like they've got the proper collection, the full collection then, although the branch has been promoting some new colours, so that's good. Thank you Liz, much appreciated. As I say, I don't want this to become a session where I'm actively promoting one company over another. I firmly believe that there should be space for more than one company, and that actually that gives us choice, and choice is good because it keeps things competitive. And this is patchy, and that is also cool and just fine, because it's going to be patchy anyway, ultimately, because of the layering techniques I'm going to be using. And let's just get completely dry. And when you know that you're going to take sandpaper to something, you absolutely do need to make sure the layers in between are dried. Otherwise, you just get a mushy mixture, and you clog up your sandpaper as well. So let me just get this so it is dry, and then we can add a little bit more of this antiquing, this blue onto here. Very little, and you think, well, hang on a minute, you're using coffee and chocolate. You know, the blue is hardly in coffee and chocolate papers. There is some blue in some of it, but we're not going to have a blue house at the end of the day. We're really not. It is going to be more a tone in keeping, but I didn't want it to just be flat blue, if that makes sense. So hence this choice. And the colours for the antiquing paints are all pretty muted. So you've done what Lorraine tried to sand off paint that's not completely dry. Yeah, it's not a good look, is it? So it's worth it. If I were just leaving this as a single layer, I would repaint it and sand back, get rid of the fluffy bits from the wood that's expanded as the grains have been cut through, and then would repaint so I had a solid layer. But as I say, I am deliberately going for a distressed look for this piece, so ultimately it doesn't matter from that point of view. Yeah, hopefully that will be dry enough now to work. Let's get that edge sorted out. Yeah, not bad. There we are. Okay, so the next layer I'm going to add is the antiquing paint in the dark brown. And you think, but you've just painted over everything, Jo. You've just painted everything that pretty purple, that pretty blue, and now you're going to cover it all. Yeah, but again, we're not going to be leaving it all there. These paints lift off quite easily. They're designed to lift off. There we are. We might do two sides at a time because it might be easier. Why will you shut up now, Sophie? You're welcome to comment, but it is a bit strange. You're thinking poor Waffle's your boyfriend, I have to say. But Waffle is absolutely lovely as a cat. Shh, I've just had a sneaky pork bite. Oh dear. Wow. As long as you've enjoyed it. As long as you've enjoyed it. There we are. That's all that matters. There we are. And so that we can hold this to dry, we'll pop that in there, stick those away from there, pop that there, pop that there. I'm eating an Eccles cake from Lancashire. Yep, I'm craving chocolate. Okay, cool. Let's just get this to dry. I'm not snacking, I'm saving it for my lamb dinner. Yummy, 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 yummy. Right, I can now get to the front of this. There we are. You can see I really am not being very specifically neat and tidy about this concept. There we are, let's just lift that up in the air. Sorry ladies, let me just get to, that's not dry enough for me to do that, so let's just give this a waft on the back. I'm just going to have a homemade Victoria sandwich. Yummy, 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 yummy. It is the favourite cake in this household. That and a good lemon drizzle. That and a good lemon drizzle. Just need that to dry. You won't have to cook. I always find if I have to cook breakfast that actually I am so stuffed for so long that actually I then don't need a tea. So yeah. It's good, it's good, it's good, it's good. I'm going to end up with coloured arms at the end of this. I can see it happening. I can see it happening. Good. Right, let me just cover the... I sometimes think that the more fussy you get when it comes to cakes and things and flavours, the less practical... That's the dry bit. Let's pop that over there. Pop that over there. Pop that over there. And give my hands a clean, because they're horrible. They're horrible. You know, look at it. Because paint your hands, it's paint your hands time, clearly. Not. So, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right, let's get this now dried. So that side is dry. If you try the next step before your layers are at least touch dry, you will, again, you get a mushy mess. And I don't know why I bother cleaning my hands with the paint, because I've got more on it. But, yeah. Let me just take some of the wet paint off my finger painting, you know, because I'm a 2-year-old, clearly. I have a different plan for the roof, ladies, it has to be said. Right. Oh, no, that's still too wet up there for me to pop down. Hopefully. Right, excellent. So, this is when we're going to get messy. I know we're going to get messy, because that's what's required. So I just had, oh, I don't want the vintage effect. This is antiquing paint remover. So I'm just going to shovel a bit of that over there and take a sandpaper. And I can see that that's sifting, but all you'll be able to see is a mucky mess. There we are. So, there we are. We'll move back to a clean it up. There we are. There's probably still enough of the antique remover on there. If not, I will add some more in a minute. Yeah, so that's a little bit dry. So just a few drops of the antiquing paint remover. Don't ask me what's in it. It's water safe. So I know you can safely get it on your hands. That's not a problem. And you end up with a paint slurry on your hand, on the piece. So it's only when you wipe it back that you can see the final result. So it's worth doing. Right, so what I'm swinking on, Helen, is this stuff. It's called antiquing paint remover. If you don't have it, then if you paint on some of the vintage effect medium in between and let it, let that dry and then add your antiquing paint, it will do it. But you don't get quite the same effect from this. And this is picking up all the texture in effect from my sloppy painting, which was intentional, and for the texture in the wood. So you just get this really different, pretty effect when you want something that is. There we are. There we are. So there we are. Hello, Ginny. Have you been to theatre yet, my darling, or are you still waiting to go to theatre? I know it's difficult when you're on the emergency theatre list, which is what you will be on a Sunday, I'm afraid, my darling. If everyone can send Ginny some great big hugs, and yeah, she might be in need of a few hugs at the moment. You can do it whichever way you want, Sheila. So if you want the dark showing through, then put the dark first and the light over. Experiment, because you'll get different effects and different results depending on what you do. So I just need a little bit more of that. But you can see that I'm literally putting drips. Well, there you are then. You can see how well it just does lift up. I'm going to say, and you get a beautiful textured effect. I'm going to cover the roof separately anyway, so there we are. Cool. Let's just do all of the layers. You could use wax. You'll get a slightly different effect with the wax, because you'll only get the resist where the wax is sitting, but you'll still get a beautiful result. It's just a different result. I've done that on, I think, some lives at some point, but I'll revisit it, because this is the joy for me of the mediums. And I just thought of, I was umming and ahhing at 3 o'clock this morning as to quite what I was going to do to colour this house, and then it occurred to me I hadn't had these out for a while. And I'm not going to lie, the other thing that prompted me was the fact that the lovely Blanche is bringing out some customised colours that have been made for her that might well slip into my shopping basket. Oops, Liz, sorry. I know I meant to be behaving. So we've now got a very nice effect, and let's just do the same on here. And yeah, I know I've got stuff every which way, but that's also just fine. And if you want, you could add a third colour, and if I'm going to add a third colour, I'd go light, dark, light, or dark, light, dark, depending on what I was, the effect I'm ultimately looking for. So there we are. So that's going to give me, so I no longer have an overtly blue house. If that makes sense. That set of exclamation marks is, I haven't ordered it yet. I haven't. I've been sort of good, but I am very tempted. and she is very good at shipping, and because she orders so much from Pentart, bless them, they make own colours for her, so that don't appear in the Pentart's classic ranges. So there we are. So let's just give that, whilst that is doing that. So there we are. There we are. And we've got a messy top, and that's also just fine. Just fine it is. There we are. And now I wanted something on the roof, so I've picked up brown granite stone effect paste, which will give complete coverage of over here and give me some texture on the roof, and then I can pop this to dry. Don't want it on there. We certainly do. We certainly do. It's not good, is it? So as I say, this is the Stone Effect texture paste in brown granite. I've no idea who's got that. But it's just going to give me a rustic effect. I don't particularly want a completely even piece, so that will work. Lots of texture onto that. I'm such an enabler. Yeah, several people have said that I'm a good enabler. There we are. But I do it from a kind place. I love the stuff. I love what I use. I want other people to love it too. There we are. So pop that onto there. So I have a live for Pentart on Wednesday, and we've got a very on Tuesday even at my normal time, 6 o'clock in the UK. So very much depends. I'll not come round and give you stuff if that's what you want, but you know, what I want people to do is recognise that we all have stuff that's sitting there. You know, as someone else said earlier, they'd got a pot or something, but actually didn't know you haven't used it because they didn't really know what to use it for. So I'm wanting people to, get their stuff out of pots onto projects. There we are. So an uneven, textured, don't want it too standy uppy, but that will work quite nicely. That won't take forever to dry. Let me just pop that down a little bit. There we are. So that's going to, and I can dry brush that once it's dry. Anyway, cool. That's already, I know, getting a little thick, so oh dear Sophie, I'm sorry my darling, come out and come back in. It's a reasonably thick there, but because I'm wanting full coverage, but you can put it through a stencil. There's a thin layer quite happily. Right, let me pop that onto floor, because really there's too much time for, I will end up having to look at these, honestly. Anyone would think that I was painting myself, not my project. But as I say, if you don't like messy crafting, put a pair of gloves on. The products are perfectly safe on your hands. Hello Glynis, welcome my darling. Welcome. It's nice to see you here. There we are. So has anyone had a thought about what they want me to put on the inside of this? A diorama, or make an album to go in it? Can do either which way. We won't do all of it this week regardless, certainly not if we go opt for an album, because that'll be a from scratch album. But there's a good space inside that box for putting an album into. There we are. Good. So, I know I said I wasn't putting lots of mould on, and some of these are for the inside, and some of them we might not use. There should be another one of them. As I say, I did did pare some of this back. So let's just pop that sanding pad, of course, with the paint right side face down. Let me just flick that over. There we are. Okie dokie, okie dokie. So these are just resin pieces, and so some I've cast in white, some I've cast in clear, and then I've coated with a layer, 2 layers of bonding primer, because it's best left to dry for 24 hours before using them. And so we're going to do these. What are we going to do? So conveniently, I have a paint called White Coffee. You'd have thought I might have thought about it. So this is just an acrylic paint mat, which we're going to pop onto here. We will, my standard way of painting, of course, nothing too fancy, nothing too detailed, and we can add in colour where I want it selectively. So let's just get a base layer of paint down onto these whilst that is drying, because I can't carry on adding to the box. Either would be nice. Okay. Album, says Sarah. Okay, either says D. I think someone else might have said that. Deborah said, they said diorama. Okay, right. After the live, I'll count up who's done what and how many we've got, and then we'll go from there. And rest assured that if I do an album, do an album in this, I can do a diorama on something else anyway. So either which way, we can work it out. And if I do, vice versa, we can do. I know quite a lot of people who've have asked for albums. I don't know why, but I think maybe people are scared, but get yourself some of Liz's templates. You can make albums with them quite happily. So those can sit there, and that can dry. Let's lid that. Let's pop that in. It's a nice colour pot, isn't it? Because I've already got bright red paint from something else. Album. Looks like album has probably got it. And for the ladies that asked for a diorama, I will do one of those once I've finished the coffee run. So that we get the best of both worlds. So those can sit and dry. Regardless of whether I'm doing an album or not, I'm going to decorate the inside walls of the house with some pictures, she says, because that seems logical. So that's what these frames are going to be used for. And for me, as I say, I have kept things reasonably pared back in terms of moulds. There we are. So let's just add a layer of, I think that is, well, that would help, wouldn't it? Because that's light, it says it's light brown. There we are. So one of the browns, but Stamperia Allegro chocolate would work just as well. That would work. Stamperia do very helpfully make sure that they have a collection that works for their paper pads. The problem is that if you buy the collection, each time you buy a collection, they have a new collection of paints, and the problem with that is that you then end up with lots of extra paints because you just don't use them up before there's another collection using the same colour range. This is going to be a no, I cannot please everyone, isn't it? Looking at the comments coming through. So we'll do an album, this, which we'll do next week. Then I'm going to have a week off because, well, I'm going to have a week off from my Sunday live because I'm going to be going live on a page called Terry Lightsey, because bless her, she's moving house, and we want to keep her page active for her whilst while she moves house. We all know how difficult and traumatic that can be. So so I'm going to do a live Horror of Horrors, ladies, at 9 o'clock in the UK time, on the 5th of May. I will have to do this, darling. I'm getting worried about you, Jill, not using a lot of money, less money for me to spend. So a good thing. Possibly. I mean, I have got moulds out. It's just that I've not got lots of moulds out. I don't know why I put that into wash, but hey ho. Right. But I do need a slightly smaller brush for this bit. So in the coffee and chocolates mould, which is this, the frames come from one of the silicone moulds from Pentart. I can't remember which collection, but they're still actively available. But any frame will work. These frames fit perfectly the postcard pieces from the paper collections, so they're good for framing. And there we are. And I did, before anyone shouts, I do know that coffee beans in their pods are not brown, so I've got artistic license for these, because they only become brown once they have fermented. And I think enjoy, Deirdre. Sounds lovely. Sounds lovely. So I do believe that we should be getting out our products and using them. So this is just one of my go-to greens, partly because I'm just wanting to use it up, but it's pine green, and it will work. And by the time I've added some extra layer detailing, then it won't stay just looking a single colour green. And then we're going to give these a little bit of a blast, and we can do some distressing. And paint retouching if we need to, because I often find that we do need to. So there we are. Let's just have a green husk, green leaves. So I love moulds, but yeah, and I think that they are a really good addition to anyone's craft stash, but I am conscious that some of them can end up very expensive. But hey ho. So for those of you that like to work with clay, not resin, then I refer you to Anthony Minnis's post, Re Artista Soft. The lady who owns it has had some technical issues with her website, and she's now only able to process her orders manually by phone. And you think, is that going to be a bit risky because you've got no record of the, no track? But she sent my stuff out with pay on delivery via bank transfer, so you don't need to share her any details over the phone, and if you don't get it, then clearly you're not going to pay for it. So it's very, very safe. She's got the cheapest clay possible in the UK, and the phone number is on my page, but it's also on Anthony's page as well, with a comment about it all. Hello Blanche, welcome my darling, welcome, welcome. We are going to need to add some layers to this. Let's just pop that out over there and give these a goodly blast. Because we need to have these dry. We might need to add another layer of the coffee onto that before we can carry on. So Blanche had a live for Pentart I think it was this week. I might have been accidentally losing the plot, with a very lovely mate. I know it was on Thursday. I know I ended up trying to be in two places at once and failing dismally on both accounts because I was trying to do that. But her live was using Brocamp's collection and also lots of Pentart products. So again, that will be available on the Pentart page for people to look at. And what I would say is it's really helpful if people do, if people are doing lives for companies, that, and this isn't for a company, is that you look at and you like their work, that you do look at the lives, because activity is noted by the companies in terms of keeping people present. So it's quite helpful to have that and for people to know. Yeah. So we're going to need another layer of chocolate brown on these frames, because I can see that they're patchy, and some of that onto there. So let's just see if that's dried enough to be able to paint. If you're not careful, when you're layering your paints, then you will ultimately let's just get a clean brush, lift off the layer below, and that defeats the purpose. So there we are. There we go. That's going to add in. So we've got some coffee stacks. There we are. Don't want it to clog all the details too much. You can see how much darker it drives, and that's very common, of course, isn't it? With they're either darken or they lighten, so you can't really win. Where we've got coffee beans that might need painting in a different colour, but particularly as one of the sacks says Arabica, and we all know that Arabica beans are very dark. They're nice once they're roasted, but we can add that afterwards. So we'll just give these an extra coat and start with a solid base colour. There we are. Because again, just because I think it will look nicer long term. You can see where I've missed stuff on the top, so going back over a second time is always helpful. That can sit there, that can go back in there. We can tuck that into there. So let's just get that brown back out, and let's just wipe the white coffee off my fingers so that we don't transfer that pale colour onto my frames. There we are. And you don't necessarily want very thick layers. You're better off with several thinner layers of paint rather than thick ones, because the more layers you add, the more you will clog all the detail in your moulds. And if they've got lots of fine detail, then they tend to get lost as you add your paint layers. There we are. Okay. So I've got clear, let me just click on that so I can see what's being said. I've got clear resin at the moment from can you paint over clear resin? Absolutely you can, Sarah. Just make sure it's properly cured. The art resin takes 24 hours. It's a slow cure resin. It's a beautiful crystal clear resin to work with. It's the brand that is stocked by Lavinia Crafts for acting over pours and stamping, but remember it gives you a plastic surface, so you need absolutely to paint it with some gesso or some bonding primer. My preference is always bonding primer, but gesso will work. So this is a cast that was cast from clear resin. I can see that it's clear. And then I have covered it with 2 layers of bonding primer to get that density, and that's what I've done for all of these pieces, and it will just allow you then to paint over it quite happily. So it's a good technique to use and to show. So let me just give these a properly good dry. And I can cast lots of pieces, but we're not going to be using lots of pieces. We might keep some of those to the front of an album. There's always ways and means. I tend to just cast my resin pieces as I need them for projects, rather than having them pre-batched made and then not being able to find them when I want them. So let me just swap to a small paintbrush and just paint in roughly the coffee beans that are in the tops of these sacks. There we are. It doesn't have to be terribly precise. Coffee beans will be spinning out, won't they? They won't just be in one place. Once these are dried, you could varnish them before doing the next step, but I'm happy that my pieces don't get handled an awful lot. But if you are going to make a piece that maybe you want to sell or as a gift, then definitely adding a layer of varnish over them will help with longevity. The choice is yours. I would obviously recommend a Pentart varnish, of which you can use a glossy or a matte, or you could use one of their soft touch ones, particularly which I tend to use on pieces that would be reminiscent of faux fabric in the first place, because that seems like a logical thing to do. There we are. Sorry, am I off camera? No, she says. There we are. Now take this down the side. Where you go in the side is a bit open to artistic license. So there we are. You know, coffee beans spilling out. I haven't cast any of the single ones. Life is too short. Well, there we are. Have we done? Have we done? Possibly. There we are. Good. Oh, she says sticking that into there, not what you intended to do. Thank you, Betty. Welcome, darling. There we are. Let me pick that back off. There we are. Good evening, Anya. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. So did anyone from the UK manage to get the new collections from Stamperia when they were on Create and Craft, or did you, like you, miss out? Because I was in the middle of that'll be a Pentart, right? No, I wasn't. I was watching the class with someone else. There we are. Cool. Helen, I haven't tried it, my darling, so I can't answer that question. And I don't really want to try it on these pieces at the moment. Have I got anything out? I will have an experiment at some time, and then we'll see. Hello Olympia, welcome my darling, welcome. How is beautiful Greece? I suspect your summer has started and it's quite warm for you. I hope you haven't got too much nasty air or anything coming in off the African subcontinent, dropping lots of sand on you. So sat on my hands, have so much already. Well done. Well, it's just as well, Faith, because it sold out in 30 minutes. I clearly didn't order enough. So I have a very old pot here of gold waste, gold metallic waste. So we're just going to bring out the details in this frame, because oh no, that's not right. Is it normally, is it rainy season where you are, darling, rather than the summer starting? It's not fair, is it? We will expect Greece to be full of beautiful sun, and you see, we're all as bad as each other, Deborah. We all are as bad as each other. I've seen people putting their waxes on with brushes. I'm not opposed to getting it on my fingers. For me, it just allows me to get it where I want. But you do you. If it works better for you to use it with your finger on a brush and then apply it, then that's absolutely fine. Yeah. There we are. Let's just get rid of that, because I don't want to transfer the wax onto lots of other things. Right, we might need to give them a bit more of a blast. Those two pieces can sit over there. And this is antiquing gel, which I think you'll have all seen me use before. And this time I have the brown out. There we are. So let's just pop that onto there. That will soften that down. We might add a little bit of dry brushing onto the top of it. On the other hand, we might not. Let's just take that off as much or as little as you want. The antiquing gels are just a good way of, well, they do two things. They disguise not great painting, but they also add depth and detail to your piece. So there we are. And if I'd waxed, if I had, you can see where I've lifted the green off. Then if you had lifted, added your varnish first, then that probably wouldn't have happened. But it's yet another step on Alive for drying that we can live without. Well, I can live without. So just be careful when you're doing that. There we are. I can see that some of this paint is still wet, so I'm going to pop this, just give these another blast before doing very much more with it. Otherwise, when I try to smush the antiquing gel around, it'll all smush into everything. So obviously I don't want my sacks to be quite that coffee coloured. I want them to be a bit more Hessian like or fabric like, but definitely not linen coloured. There we are. So we'll pop that into there, and let's just take this back, and then we can have our so it now looks like a bit like a more like an old sack. I've sort of been good and sort of been bad. I have been good for a few months, but I have splurged because I am using up lots of stuff. This is very true. There we are. As I say, you can take back as much or as little as you want, and you don't have to slap on quite so much as I'm doing, but it's just easier. And I can probably get away with doing a couple of these at the same time, so I'm moving some of it around rather than necessarily having to wipe it all off onto a wet wipe. So once the antiquing gels are dry, then you cannot lift the excess off. So don't decide to paint every single mould you've made and then with your antiquing gel, and then decide to try lifting it off, because it really won't, it really won't work very well. So there we are. So now they're looking like old sacks. One of the things that is important, that if you get it, that you do get into every nook and cranny, which is why I tend to load my brushes, so that I know that I've got into every nook and cranny. If you don't get into every nook and cranny, by the time once you wipe stuff off, then you'll see every area that you haven't got as a unantiqued surface, and it really isn't the best look in the world, in my opinion. But again, you do you. There we are. Hello Bev, welcome darling, thank you very much for joining us. So here we are. So I've now got some pretty old, distressed pots, and I can sit over there, that can sit over there, that can sit, those can go over there, that can go under but is for bin, that can go onto there. There we are. Put that over there. Let's just give this a little bit of a wipe, because we're going to have to get some papers. We are going to be getting some papers out in a minute, so I don't know how much of this we're going to manage to clear off, but excuse me just while I scrape, and hopefully don't set anyone's teeth on edge in the process. I do try not to have it squealing. There we are. Oh, she says, then promptly making it, it's not too scratchy, is it? There we are. That will give us a cleaner space to work, because sometimes when you've got mesh you just can't see wood for the trees, can you? Making notes. Lovely, Sophie. That is the way to learn, my friend, and then to bit by bit experiment with what you've got and learn the different techniques. You don't need to buy every product under the world. You don't have to have everything that I've got. There are ways around things. As you increase your skill set and your product list, you'll begin to make products work for lots and lots of different things. So there we are. I'm using old products, so some of the stuff you may well find on sale for people rather than them being new. Right, we are going to have to give that a go. Maybe not. Maybe we'll manage. We'll pop that because it's on the top, isn't it? For the moment, so let's just pop that there for the moment. So I've done an album. It was a taught class. I'm not going to pretend that it wasn't a taught class, and that required me to get, and if I'm doing a taught class, then I tend to like to have the bits that work for that class. That sort of makes sense, because then I know if it's not working, it's because I've done something, not because I've got the wrong products. So in the collectibles pack, don't need that out now, but also in the paper pad from Coffee and Chocolates are all of these images. Don't want that. All of, these little adverts. That's for something different. Okay, so I thought, what am I going to use these for? Because I rather like them. So I'm going to pretend in my head that my house is a shack on a Caribbean island, and on the outside of the shack, on the painted walls that have been painted and repainted, that we have lots of adverts from the different brands of coffee that you can get. So we're going to decorate the walls of our shack with lots of these and build up a collage, because I'm thinking it would be nice. I don't want the white edge of these papers showing, so hence the brown ink. And I have got a distress archival here because I'm going to be using wet glue on here. I want a product that's going to be solid. No, PVA glue is a proper glue, Sophie. Most of the glues that say they're proper glues are PVA glues. So yeah, so I've got all of these images that I've basically cut from the papers that I want. So I'm using an archival ink because I know that it's archival, so it's not going to fade, and it's not going to move if I add any wet glue or a varnish over the top. If you use an ordinary distress ink and then varnish over the top, you'll move the distress inks because they have a water soluble component in them. So I have an archival ink. This is ground espresso, because it's a shade I like, but I also like brushed corduroy and also gathered twigs. But as I say, for mixed media pieces, having a permanent ink pad is really, really helpful. Thank you, Helen. If you've got it at home, then it's worth having a play, isn't it? Because but remember, I use tiny drops only. Don't really want to stray one of those on there. So we might, I don't know, can someone tell me what the time is, because I can't see. Let me just give this a little blast to get it a little bit drier, otherwise I can see that we're putting my pores in it as I move it around, and that might be not where we're going for. And then we'll make some decisions as whether we're going to stop with the outside today or whether we'll carry on. Yeah, it's all too wet. 4 p.m. So okay, not bad, not bad. If Liz, when you decide to go off to set up for your live, will you just let me know, and then I'll know I need to shift my bottom and stop what I'm doing and move on. Don't you worry, someone else has told me. Thank you, darlings. Thank you very much. Right, so we've not been on a ridiculous amount of time. As I say, I don't want my Sunday lives to be more, a ridiculous amount of time. I'd rather break it up into different stages. There we are. So, okay. Let's do it that side. So we're going to layer this, and I'm going to keep the back of it reasonably reasonably plain, flat even is the word I'm looking for. And I can cut more of these if I want to. So let's just okay. I'm going to spread those out, and I'm not putting things onto the bottom of there intentionally, and we could just put another one onto there. So I rather quite like that as thank you, Sophie. Biscuit o'clock, yummy. Golden crunch creams. Actually, to be fair, Aldi's own version of golden crunch cream. So let's just pop this onto here. Smooth it out. I want it to attach properly, and I can pop that underneath there, and we can build it. There we go. And I'm deliberately putting these off-pieced because that way it's easier, isn't it? There we go. And I'm not worrying about it, and that I can do that because I'm collaging them under and over each other. So as I say, we've got an aged building that someone has then decided to add pieces to. There we are. That down. And just remember that PVA glue tends to be shiny, so if you squidge it out, just make sure you've pushed it out the way. So there we are. That's not quite glued down, which is good at this point, because it means I can stick that under and over, so it doesn't all look like I've just layered one on top of each other as I've gone. I can stick that underneath there, off to the side. Let's just change the angle of that. Pop that onto there. There we are. Okay. And we'll add some splatters possibly to that, possibly not. So there we are. So that's that side. So let's have 1, 2, 3. See, there's a lot, you know, as I say, these all have come out of one piece. So yeah, so those are going to go up onto here. That can go there and there, and then we're going to build a little pile of sacks on the side. Yeah. So let me, with that there, let me see where we're up to. So I think that's going to look nice. So there we are. I'm not going to stick these down yet, because I'm going to need to do the other side, and it'll need to be flat for drying purposes. So that piece can go into there. Let me move that up, then you might be able to see what I'm saying. Because why would you want to see what I'm saying? There we are. But you do need to see what I'm doing. There we are. I will never take offence if people do comment that I need to move stuff around, because yeah, you do get to. There we are. And yeah, excellent. You're right. Your comments are taking. They're taking quite a while for them to come through onto my screen. So there we are. So by the time I'm seeing your comments about move the house up, I have conveniently, I haven't stuck the moulds down at all. They are just put there waiting, because but I wanted to sort of approximately see where I was going with that. There we are. So let's just stick that, yeah, into there. They have to slim over here. Okay. There we are. So we'll just add these. There we are. I'm getting very sticky hands. I'm going to have to wipe my fingers in a minute and de-yuck. There's definitely a limit to how much PVA glue I can cope with on my hands. Swim. Yours wasn't the only one that took forever to come through. In fact, Anya, yours came through ahead of the ones from the ladies I know are in the UK. So I will ultimately glue those onto there. Yeah, it's all right. I realised what you meant. So yeah, so I've just built. So yeah, I've got this old shack where they've just layered labels one after another. Yeah, on there. And that I want decorated, but I want it to be flat so I can pop it against the wall. So I'm not going to put moulds on there. I did and ah about it. we are. We've got the other. We might not use that. We might have that. We'll have the, yeah, so we've got, that might work. And we've got another similar set of these to pop into here, hence the doubling up of everything. Black can be, that's a lot of caffeine, yeah. As I say, that I have a 12 by 12 pack, and I had a set of collectibles to make a very specific album, which was a talk class, and we didn't use lots of the collectibles, and we didn't use all of the album, needless to say, but we did use most of the album. But we had all of these labels, and I just thought, I want to use these and celebrate the fact that I had all the labels in the piece. There we are. Let me just pop me back up again. There we are, because we've just drifted down. There's definitely an art to doing Facebook Lives in terms of keeping in place. There we are. Let's just pop that, wipe off that. Pop that down. You're making me want coffee. Oh, sorry. And I still have some of these left. Yeah. And you think I haven't been miserly stingy with any of these pieces. I have quite happily used everything up, so that's going to go there. Okay, so we're going to pop that off there. That can go down there, and now we have this almighty mess. No problem, Deirdre, no problem, that we need to cover and fill, but that's okay. So let's just de-yuck the fingers, and we're going to collage papers, because why not? So we have the background paper collection of papers. You can see how nice it is. So let us just do bit by bit by bit. So I want a piece for the sides of here. So how am I going to work that one out? I'm going to grab myself a ruler, she says, because that's quite helpful in the grand scheme of things, isn't it? So I know that I need a piece that is going to be, for there, 12.5, probably 12.4. And then of course these rulers have ends on them, which is not very helpful, because so you need to get a ruler that starts, you know, right at the end, just to be a pain in the neck, she says. Right, so that distance is 5. Oh, she says, putting her hand in that. So that is conveniently 1, 2, 3, 3 3/4 inches by 4 and just inconveniently 4, just over 4 1/4, 4 3/4, yeah. So one's going to be in centimetres, so 15.2, 12.4 by 1, 2, 3 3/4. So let's just put that on the floor. So conveniently, this should mean, because this is 8-inch paper, I can get 2 3 3/4 in terms of the height out of that. Just make sure that, yeah, 2 3 3/4. So there we are. Let's go 3 3/4 off one side, 3 3/4 that side, and then we want, I'm going to be messy. There we are. So 12.4. Always trim down. So we're going to have a little bit for one side. That might. Oh, thankfully that is the correct size. Okie dokie. And I don't want that. I've got either of those. So let's just take off that tiny border because I don't want that line. And go 12.3. 12.4, there we are. And I know I'm off screen. There we are. So that can go there, that can go there, that can go there. So then let's just ink our edges. So I had my coffee at 11 o'clock this morning, so probably 5 hours ago from now, Betty. And then I have, yeah. And then I've got my lovely husband cooking me a roast chicken dinner. So let's just pop those pieces over there. Let's pick this up and we can pop that over here. And it is, again, there is a right and a wrong side to this piece of paper. So there we are, we will. This is going to be protected inside, so I'm less worried about having enough glue on that over the whole thing. But there we are. So that means that I've got that inside of there covered neatly. And now we can repeat on the other side. So this, as I say, this is from the background collection of papers, which is quite cool. And I know that I've now got my text for my map up the right way, because that would irritate me big style if I didn't. So all of the depths are going to be the same, so that is 3 3/4, and that is 8 centimetres. I'm going to deliberately pop that in as 2 separate pieces because it'll be easier. I'll make sure that that is attached at the sides, because bubbling edges again will irritate and they'll catch. So 4 3/4, 8 and 8. So let's see what we want for the roof. We might go for a dark roof because that's going to work. So, so 4 3/4, and I will remeasure that. Let's just pop that up over there. Right. 3 3/4, which should give me the depth that I need. Yep. Maybe not. 8 centimetres. So I want it to go like that, not like that. So 8 centimetres. I'm going to cut it separately. Let me just remeasure. Yeah, 8 centimetres. I do like it when a plan comes together. And then we'll have 8 centimetres from the other side. Deliberately separate the pattern out, and that's also cool. So that can go into there. So that's what we're going to pop into the top of the roof. If I just hold that up like that, let Facebook catch up with me, then we can hopefully have the wording round the right way, and it should look quite nice, I think, from there. So let's just edge that again, because I don't really want white edges showing. So it is absolutely worth doing this. There we are. Now, ladies, I haven't forgotten that I said I was going to add an album or a diorama. So we will finish the bits for this, and then then I will stop and we'll do there we are, so that can go into there neatly. Edge it up, there we are. So that we know that that depth that way into there where my hand is 4 3/4, so we'll need to chop that down a little bit, and then we want a piece that is 11.5 centimetres. So let's just pop that over there, and we'll use the same piece of paper, and then we're not wasting, which is cool. So 3 3/4, because that's that. And then, because I've got a bird for a brain, 11.5 for there. Right. And then we'll do the difficult bit, which is always the back piece. Always the back piece. Come on, tuck that down. Tuck nicely into the back of there. So I'm going to, no, that has gone nicely into there. Okay, so let's pop that into here. The wooden house is from a set of 3, Betty, from Amazon. But I'm sure Hobby Lobby will have something like it, or Dollar Tree. There we are, so that can go into there. And now we need to cover the back. So that's going to be slightly more problematic. So I'm going to measure the height, which is 18 centimetres. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut a piece of my background paper. She says, having thrown the pad of paper on the floor, so she can't see what she's done with the background paper. Because that's what you do, isn't it? Where have you put it? Where have you put it? Well, that's really intelligent, woman. That can't have gone very far. One has a mind. Right, so I know that I need a piece that is 18 centimetres high. This is from the non-coffee and chocolate paper pad collection, darlings, okay? Non-background collection, because I can't see what I've done with the background paper pad. Because, why would you? Why would you know? Yeah, it'll be somewhere safe, in amongst everything else. There we are. Hello, Miss Anne. Welcome, my darling. So I know... Here we are, so let's just cut that to 18 centimetres tall. There we are. Okay, so 18 centimetres tall and 11.5 centimetres wide. So that will fit then into the back of there, yeah? And then I need to cut the angled pieces. So that is 12.4. So I am now going to, and I'm not going to cut this, what I'm going to do is put that in there, and then I'm going to use my pencil to mark 12.4 and 12.4. That was 11.5, so that is 5.5, 5.75 is the halfway mark. 7 and a bit, and then I can pop that into there. So now if I join A to B, and this is the only bit of measuring I'll do, but it is worth it, and if I've made a mess, we'll grab another piece of paper. There we are. So I now know that that should then fit into there, and I can line my pencil mark up on my piece. And that can go into there. And sometimes you just have to accept that measuring is the way forward. I know that we can all be considered to be highly allergic to measuring. Maths at school has a lot to answer for. There we are. Cool. So let me just, before I put glue on it, just make sure that it is going to fit. And now it's going to fit so tightly that I'm going to struggle to lift it out, but that's okay. So that's just the way I do it. Measure the height, measure the width, cut it to piece, measure the side pieces, and then you'll have a nice fit for what you're doing. So let's just pop this into here. Yeah. Okay. So that can go into there, slide that into place, slide that into place. There we are. So we now have the inside of our box measured and sorted. So, yeah, it really is unhelpful when you throw half a dozen bits that you want on the floor. So I'm wanting to put on the sides of here 2 pictures, and onto the roof also a clock. And I had a clock nicely cut out that I liked, and now, yeah, and then I've changed my mind. So we're going to pop a little clock onto the back of there to fill that space. I'm not going to fill this because we've said that I'm going to do a diorama. So that's inconveniently too big. So let's just, but I do want some detail. So these are just canvas stretchers, ladies. Okay, so we're just going to pop one onto there, one onto there. So wooden scraps, but use what you've got. And make sure that that goes into there with it reasonably central. So I've got a clock on the back of here. Oh no, that's disastrous, Joan, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to glue some pieces down for the frames. So I'm going to pop, I think, on the inside those 2 pieces. So this comes from the 8x8 patterns, so I can cut these out. It doesn't need to be there. We are. So they're going to decorate the walls inside. And why would you not have the 2 that are next to each other? There we are. We'll just trim that off because I know that that's going to be too much. So let's pop those over there. Pop that over there. Let's just trim you down. And let's just trim you down. So we're going to pop that onto there. So let's just use some gel medium. Horror of horrors, I haven't had that out so far today. There we are. Yep. And let's get that reasonably central. We're going to have one go at that. So there we are. So that can sit there. And that one can go there. Thank you, Blanche. So we're going to do this as a 2-parter because we're going to fill the rest of the box. The frames are lovely. They are a Stamperia mould, and they just are a great size for these pieces. Let me get rid of that. Like that over there. Okay. Let's just leave that so that the word coffee is on display, and coffee is on display, and I can trim along there. Excellent. Good. Okay, so I am conscious that Liz will be live in Liz Wheeler Designs shortly. She said she'd give me a 15-minute warning, so we're clearly not there yet. Okay, so I'm going to pop, if I angle it, that one onto there and that one onto its other side, but I'm going to glue these in stages. So, and I'm conscious I've got some white there, so let me just whiz round that with that, so that can go onto there, and then I can tip it upside down here on the side and do the other side. It's okay, my darling, because we're at a point where we're going to need to leave stuff to dry to build anyway, so that's cool, isn't it? It works perfectly. So let's just pop that, and we just need to fill that there. Make sure we've got glue all the way around. There we are. So that piece can go central in there. So I've decorated the wall. I'll give that a minute. That's reasonably straight. So if we can see in there. So I've just popped that into there. And actually it's actually grabbed pretty quickly. That's because of the paper. So maybe we will add it on the other one on the other side. And you watch it all slide where I don't want it to. Let's just have a little trim of that, and then just go round the edge, because I really don't want that on display. There we are. So pop that. There. Hello Kiki, welcome darling. So let's get that onto there. Give that a little squash and make sure it's straight-ish. The paper will help. There we are. So that's got that squished into there. Okay, and then we'll add these, and then we can let this lot dry and come back. There we are. So let's just pop one of those there. I'm conscious that my resin is not being cast beautifully. It has sunk a bit where I didn't overly fill the mould, so I'm adding quite a lot, but that's because of that. I want that to be on the bottom. I'm going to need to fill that gap, otherwise this isn't going to set into place. So let's just, well, I'm glad it's helping. I'm glad it's helping. So let's just take some bits. So these are literally just canvas spaces, so I can that I've chopped, and I can now, they conveniently split as I cut them. So let's just add a little bit into there, and a little bit onto there. It's just going to help give some stability to this. There we are. Yep, that is going to touch. There we are. Cool. So there we are. So I now need to leave that to dry. It'll grab. I'm going to wipe the excess off that edge because it will irritate me. You might actually just have to find some coffee beans to tuck into there long term, but that's okay. We'll find those in the week. So next week I would have finished, put some proper coffee beans into there to fill that space. I would have added my moulds onto the other side, because that's exactly what's going to happen if I try and do it now. It just needs to dry, and then we'll make the album. Is that okay? So hopefully you've had a good afternoon with me. I know I've enjoyed being here. I will put a notice up for next week and look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, I have a very pretty project planned for my live for Pentart on Tuesday at 6. So I hope to see some of you then. Ta-ta for now. Stay safe.